Siobhan is the only plus-size vampire in Twilight, and I do think she's really cool. She's probably my favorite of the Breaking Dawn vampires. She's from the Irish coven. We do see her a little bit in Breaking Dawn Part 2. She has quite a backstory, but first we gotta talk about how she's described by Bella Shore, but more importantly by Edward, because it's wild. So in the book, she actually has black hair. She's 6'2", very voluptuous, with exceptionally beautiful features. Bella describes her as a woman of immense presence whose huge body was both beautiful and mesmerizing as it moved in smooth undulations. But Edward trying to find the words to describe Siobhan in Midnight Sun is actually one of the funniest things ever. She was the largest woman I had ever seen, taller than Carlisle or me, with broader shoulders and thicker limbs. However, there was nothing masculine about her. She was profoundly female in shape, aggressively, forcefully female. It had been in another lifetime that I had last noticed a woman this way, and I found I was hard-pressed to know where to put my eyes. I centered them on her face, which, like her body, was intensely female. Her lips were full and curved, her deep crimson eyes enormous and fringed by lashes thicker than the needles on pine boughs. Edward trying to say Siobhan is hot. She was aggressively female. I didn't know where to put my eyes. Just say it, Edward. Siobhan is sexy. You have a crush. It's okay, man. Don't get a nosebleed. Anyway, so Siobhan has a violent, traumatic backstory like all the women in Twilight, so fair warning. She was born around 1490 in Ireland. She was the only daughter of a blacksmith. She was beautiful and really strong. By the time she was 16, she was taller than any man in the village. When her father died in an accident when she was 17, she took over his business, which was frowned upon for a woman at the time, but she didn't care. She was able to support her and her mother. She was known for her beauty, but she didn't have any suitors because the men in the village were intimidated by her height, her strength, and her occupation. When she was 20, she was discovered by a Turkish vampire named Sankar, who was collecting beautiful, unusual women for his vampire harem. He abducts her, R-words her, and then turns her. She was stronger than a normal newborn, and she hated Sankar, so within her first year, she unalived him. She lives nomadically for about a century, and during that time, she comes across a couple members of the Volturi. She's very intrigued by them and their abilities. She wonders if she's strong enough to be considered to join them, but she never tries because she doesn't want to belong to anyone but herself. Siobhan doesn't believe she has a special talent, but in addition to her strength, it's suspected by others that she has the ability to influence the outcome of a situation by willpower alone. Then she finds newborn Liam and takes him under her wing, and then they become mates. And then she turns Maggie, who was abandoned by her family during famine in the 1840s, who's also really interesting and has the ability to tell when people are lying, and they become like a coven and a family. They're a pretty interesting coven, especially Siobhan, so I think she's cool.